Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the lovely Renault Arkana E-Tech Techno full hybrid, which is a real tongue twister. It starts at 36,050 euros, and this one that we have right here only has one extra option, which is the color, which is Zanzibar Blue, which costs 809 euros extra, which is a pretty big price tag for a car, for a color, but I do actually like the color. It looks pretty cool. But let's take a look at the front first of all. We do have the typical Renault kind of sporty looking LED lights, which are pretty cool. We do have a little bit of black, and then we have mostly chrome colors in the front. Front looks pretty cool. If you do want to get a more sportier look, you could get the RS Essential package, which is a pretty cool one. The engine in the car is a 1.6 liter four-cylinder engine, which is helped via two electric motors for a total of 143 horsepower and 205 Newton meters of torque, which is fairly decent, but it's supposed to be a sporty SUV, and we'll get to that once we're actually driving. Let's take a look at the side, where we can see the only rims that you can actually get for this car, which are 18-inch wheels, and the rims do kind of remind me of Alfa Romeo because they do actually kind of look like that, but it's pretty cool. We do also have the side trim, which is in black, which does look cool as well. We do have electric side mirrors as well, which are also in black. And then the color again does look pretty cool. I do like it. And then we can definitely see we have the SUV crossover kind of look because it's obviously tilted back in the back. We have a fuel tank of 50 liters, a total range of 1,042 kilometers with the hybrid version, which is pretty cool. So WLTP says 4.8 liters, which is pretty decent. We've been able to get around 6, which is pretty good. Taking a look at the back, we can see we have a black window in the back, which does look cool as well. And I like the design in the back with the full LED lights that go through on the back, and also the big Arkana. That's one thing I don't like too much, is the big Arkana letters on there, but it does look pretty decent. We obviously don't have any exhaust that you can visually see, but we do have the E-Tech hybrid sign on there as well. We do also have a towing capacity of 750 kilograms, which is not much, to be fair. But let's take a look at the trunk, which you can open right here, and it doesn't actually like completely throw your head off, just like in the, well, unlike in the Dacia. Under here we have a spare tire, which not many cars have nowadays, but that actually has a spare tire, and that is standard with the car. So if you would want to remove that, you could have a lot more storage space on there as well. In here we have a total storage space without the front seats folded over of 480 liters. If we do flip them over, let me quickly do that. We have 1,263 liters, just like my cameraman says right there. So one thing I do like is you don't have a lip in here, so you can just pull something through and it's just gonna go up instead of being stuck on there, so you have to lift it up again. But you could also obviously put this out on the top. But yeah, it's a pretty decent size and couldn't complain. The front of the Arkana is also very well made, and because it only starts at 36,000 with the Techno package, you have a lot of standard stuff which I really like. For instance, you have wireless charging, even though I wouldn't recommend the wireless charging because it's very, very slow and the battery gets very hot. You have a big navigation display, which is very nice. You also have an automatic climate control, which is pretty cool, and the navigation display also has Apple CarPlay, wireless, and Android Auto, which is very nice. You have a digital cockpit, which is also cool. The fabric in here is also very well made, just a little bit hard plastic in areas where you don't usually touch, but where you put your hand on most is leather, and also the center console. Good amount of storage in here, but it's again fairly small, just like in the Dacia. So you could you couldn't actually fit a bottle in there. No, you couldn't. But the cup holders are very nice because they are perfect size for a normal cup or for a normal bottle, which is good. Like I said, you do have these kind of like carbon touches because it is trying to be a more of a sportier car, even though it's not really sporty. We'll check that out once we're actually driving. And then we do also have a good amount of storage in here. As you can see, you could fit in a good amount of stuff in there. Talking about the seats, you could get the comfort package, so you would get heated seats and also automatic seats. These are manual seats, but they are very comfortable. In the back, the quality continues just like in the front. We do have a little bit of plastic, but again, in places where you don't usually put your hands to. We do have, again, the carbon touches in here, and we do have contrast stitching as well. In the middle console, we do also have a folding over, so you have two cup holders in here, which is pretty nice, but there's no center pass-through, so you can't actually put skis through there. You have to fold over the whole seats. The ISOFIX points in here are also very easy to reach, so you just flip them out, and then you have the access to your ISOFIX points, so if you have kids, very easy to reach, unlike in the Dacia Duster. The roof also feels way higher quality. You don't feel the hollow point in here, so it's pretty nice. You do have two USB USB ports in here with the climate control as well. You can put different temperature in here, unlike in the front, so it's just the temperature that you have in the front. Seats also, they feel very good from the back. There's plastic in here at all, which is very nice. Seating quality also pretty comfortable. Seats are very comfortable, just like in the front. Seating position, lots of knee room, lots of leg room as well. And then the head position, I'm 1.80 m tall, so around 5'11", and you have enough room. If you're a little bit taller, the roof in the back might hinder you a little bit if you are pointed back, so you have around like 5 centimeters of space in there, but that's basically it for the back. So the WLTP consumption is 4.9. What we've been able to get from the 450 kilometers that we've been driving the car is 5.7. Renault claims that you can actually get it up to 1,042 kilometers, which is pretty crazy, but you'd have to get it down to a WLTP of 4.8, which is fairly low. You could possibly get that low, however, we've not been really driving it fast, and we've only been able to get around 5.7. So you might be able to get down to like 5.4. However, the thing that is pretty nice about the car is it's fairly quiet from the inside. You definitely have a lot of isolation that you get. The only thing that might be a little bit not so nice is the electric engine. If you're going inside or if you're driving in town, it is fairly loud. It does a lot of extra sounds that it doesn't really need to do, and it is fairly loud with that. But while talking about the engine, the electric motor only has a battery capacity of 1.2 kilowatt an hour, or kilowatts, which is not a lot. Obviously, you don't get an electric. You can go into pure electric drive. However, it usually doesn't work because you have to be over a good amount, or you have to have a good amount of battery. So usually what it does, it just uses both of them together, and that works fairly well. You usually don't even notice if it switches over or if it's actually like what it's using. You obviously can see with the digital cluster display. While we're driving on faster roads, you can definitely tell isolation is fairly good. The suspension is good. It's not as stiff as some other models. It's more like an SUV kind of relaxing suspension where the road adapts pretty well to the vehicle, or the vehicle adapts pretty well to the road. So you can't really complain about that. And for the price, definitely great suspension. The other thing that you might think is that you could go a little bit faster, around like 200 kilometers an hour. However, you are limited to 173 kilometers an hour. The fastest we've been able to is around 180. So you can't really go that fast. I wouldn't also recommend going that fast, because at that range, the isolation does let a little bit down, and it does get a little bit louder in here. So I definitely don't go over that speed. So around like 140, 150 is fairly good while driving the car. And while we're driving in the town, the practicality of the car is fairly decent. You do have a pretty good surround view, apart from the rear window, which is not that big, obviously because it's an SUV crossover thing. So the slanted roof is always going to make that window pretty small. However, you have big side mirrors. You can see pretty well out the side because the B-pillars are not that big. And you also have the rear view camera, so you are able to park in easily. So it's really not hard when you're driving in the city. You do have a pretty good trunk space, like we said, so practicality in city is fairly decent. And with the electric motor, you can just cruise around in full EV and also charge it while you're going down the hill, and it's fairly nice. You would expect that the rear cooperation would help you a little bit to make it a little bit softer and just slowly kick in when you're braking. However, it basically kicks in full right as you hit the brakes, so they're really grabby, and I'm not a big fan of that. And also one thing I've noticed, the steering wheel is fairly stiff when going slow. Like, it doesn't loosen up at all. It stays the same, which is not bad, but it does make it a little bit tiring after a time if you're going fairly slow and you have to turn it every single time. Being able to get that long range is also helped by the electric motor, which Renault claims that it has 40% less fuel usage due to the electric motor compared to other models which don't have a hybrid version. So like I was talking about, the digital cockpit does have a couple different modes as well, so you can see there's a lot of stuff pointed on there, like our fuel usage, my sense, which shows you what's using the battery or whatever is currently being used. And then you can press this button to change a different mode. So you have my sense, you have sport, and you also have eco mode. We're obviously going to test out the sport here in a second to go from 0 to 60. But the other thing is that you can also change the layout. If you go into the customization, and then you can see we have 4 different layouts, which is the sport. We have the regular, which has changed the whole display. It does take a long time to actually change it, but it's a pretty cool animation. We have the comfort, which looks like that. Yep, there we go, it looks like that. And then we also have the eco one. And then the navigation display also, it works fine. It's actually not that laggy, it's actually pretty smooth. But I generally like this display because you can actually see pretty far up. So if you're going straight or if you're driving straight, you can see a lot into the future. Okay, so let's do our 0 to 100 test. For that, we're going to obviously go into the sport mode. Okay, so let's quickly do the 0 to 100 test if we actually can on this straightaway. I mean, the kick away is just really slow. I can basically have a meal here before it actually gets to 60. There's 70, 80, 90 and 100. 10.72, and then you can feel the brakes are actually, I mean, the brakes are fairly decent, but 10.7, that's actually the fastest we've been able to get. So that is, what did they say? 10.8 is what Renault said, so we're 0.08 seconds slower, which is amazing, or faster, I mean, not slower. Again, we have some different features in here as well, like cruise control, we have a speed limiter, we also have the rear view camera, we have front, well, 360 degrees, assistance, we also have blind spot mirroring or blind spot assistant, lane assist, and there's a lot of stuff that you actually have in here. Also, if you're not driving electrically, you can't actually see what gear you're in, and you can't manually shift, so it's not that helpful, but still it doesn't show you if you're like 5th or 6th gear, it doesn't show you that at all. You're just in one constant gear basically. So what do you think about the Arkana? I think there's a lot of stuff that you get standard with the car, which is very nice. For instance, the automatic climate control, you get the navigation display, not heads-up display, digital cockpit, all very good and fun things. But that's basically what you're getting. However, I still think the price to performance ratio that you're actually getting is fairly decent, because you do have a full hybrid, and just the amount of stuff that you get in there for 36,000 euros, you can't go wrong with that. So I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you next time.